Hi guys, Freddy here. Welcome to another rules breakdown. And this one's going to be a bit different because you see this isn't a set of rules I own. It's one I've deliberately gone and downloaded. Because in my coverage of other games, a comment I keep seeing again and again is I like this game but I play it with the Savage Worlds rules. So I will see people going, oh I love Star Wars but I play Savage Star Wars, or I love Shadowrun, I love Savage Shadowrun, and so on and so forth, Savage Rifts, whatever. Now, I wasn't aware of these rules. I know they're by Pegasus Inc., who do the Deadlands game, so they come from an established house. But the Savage Worlds rules, I've just not been aware of. So what I thought I would do is have a look at these rules and see if I can work out why so many people adore them. Because lots and lots of people really do. So, I've downloaded this version of the free rules. It's only 5 pages, so it's a very brief starter set of the rules. There's actually a more modern set, which is more based on Deadlands. But I didn't want to cover them. I wanted to cover a more generic set of rules. So these were the test drive version of the rules that I found. So, for skills, if we flick over to the rules here, it very simply sums them up. Every character or creature has 2 kinds of traits, attributes and skills. Each trait is rated from D4 to D12, with the D6 being average. When you want to do something, the GM tells you what trait to use, and you roll that die. If it's equal to or greater than 4, plus or minus any modifiers, you're successful. So, we flick over here. We've got some sample monsters, and we've got the Orc. Now he has a throwing skill of D6, so he's trying to throw a grapple hook over a wall. Now he needs to roll 1d6, so we will click on D6 here, and we throw it, and he gets a 4, so he succeeds. And it's as simple as that. However, there are some tweaks to the system here which make it slightly more interesting. If it's untrained, so if he didn't have the throwing skill, he'd be rolling a d4 and subtracting 2. Now, it also works that if you roll the highest for your dice size, so a 4 on a d4, or a 6 on a d6, or a 12 on a d12, you roll an add. So, even though an untrained skill of a d4 minus 2 couldn't possibly reach target number 4, if you rolled a 4 and then rolled another 2 on top of that, you'd have got 6 minus 2 meets the target number of 4. So it is possible to pass things even when you've got no trained skill or a very low skill. There's opposed rolls as well, where basically both sides roll and whoever gets higher wins. So if we go back to the Orc here, he has stealth. So he's rolling a d6 to sneak somewhere, somebody else will be rolling their observation to spot him. Whoever gets higher wins. However, for sneaking, he must still beat the target number of 4. So, if he rolls a 2 and the opponent rolls a 1, it would seem like you'd won, but he still failed to sneak. You still have to meet that threshold. Now, there's also the wild cards here. So, because your character's special, you get to roll a wild die once per round on any dice roll, based on a trait. So, that is a d6. So, if you're rolling your d6 skill, so he's rolling a d6 to throw his grapple hook, he can roll a second d6, and whichever is higher is the one he uses. Because he's a special character, he's a hero, he's a wild card. Also, when you're rolling your dice, every 4 points over the target number you get, so if you roll your d12, you get 12 on the d12, then a 3, so you've got 15, so you're 11 points over it, so that's 2 raises. For every 4 points over, you get 1 raise. And raises are basically the level of success you've got. Characters also start play with bennies. Savage Worlds gives players and GMs a little extra control over the whims of fate. Every player starts each game session with 3 bennies. Gaming stones are other tokens that signify a little bit of good luck or fate. You can use these to re-roll any trait test. You can even keep spending them until you get the result you want or you run out of bennies. Take the best of your rolls, because spending a benny should never hurt you, only help. So if you roll 3 on your dice and then you spend a benny to re-roll and you get a 2, you still take the 3. Bennies cannot be spent on any damage rolls, rolls on tables, or anything besides attribute or skill rolls. However, it then contradicts that later on, because it says damage rolls for strength, so melee combat, is a trait roll, so you can use a benny to increase damage from melee combat. Games Master also get bennies, so they can spend it. They get 1 benny for each player character in the group, and their wildcards, so their major NPCs, also get 2 bennies of their own. So any major NPCs get 2 bennies that they can re-roll dice and help themselves with, but the Games Master also gets 1 for the entire session for each player in the group. Now, initiative in Savage Worlds isn't actually based on dice or attributes at all, which seems a little odd to me. It's based on playing cards. So that's very reminiscent of Deadlands. I thought these rules would be more separate because I was going for the non-Deadlands version of them, but it looks like they are very similar to the original Deadlands rules. So if we flick onto the initiative section, the action in Savage Worlds games is fast and furious. To help the Games Master keep track of who goes in what order, add a little excitement, we use a single deck of playing cards. Dealing characters as follows. Every wild card is dealt a single card. Every type of Game Master troop, such as all zombies, all wolves, and so on, share a card. Deal a single card for each player's allies. If a player is controlling 3 swordsmen and an apprentice mage, they all share an initiative card. The Games Master then counts down from the ace to the deuce, with every group resolving its actions when its card comes up. The ties are resolved in suit order. Spades are first, then hearts, diamonds, and clubs. Basically in reverse alphabetical order. You've also to leave the jokers in, because if you deal out a joker, it acts as a wild card. You get +2 to all trait tests made in this round, and +2 to damage as well. You also go whenever you want in the round, automatically interrupting somebody else's action without an opposed agility test, see hold below, but after the joker's dealt, the pack is reshuffled. So basically, you're dealing out cards and going from ace down to 2. Jokers are special, and in event of a tie, you're dealing with them in spades, hearts, diamonds, and then clubs. Now, combat rolls are pretty much the same as other skill rolls. However, instead of rolling against the target number of 4, you're rolling against the target number of equal to the opponent's parry score, which is 2 plus half his fighting skill. So if we go down to the orc here, he has a parry of 5 because his fighting skill is d6, so half of that is 3 plus 2, so he has a 5. So anybody fighting him needs to be a target number of 5 to hit him. But that's just for melee combat. You see, in ranged combat it works against the target number of 4 again. However, this time you take into account ranges. So if we flick onto the next page where we've got some sample weapons, we can see, for example, the bow here has a range of 12/24/48. So for anything less than 12 yards, the system works in yards, then it's a target number of 4 to hit. Anything less than 24, between 12 and 24, it's a 6 to hit. It's +2 target number, or a -2 to the dice rolls, as it explains. And for anything between 24 and 48, it's another 2, so it's +4. So the target number is now 8, or it's -4 to the dice rolls. So damage is based around which weapon you're using. So we can see here that the melee weapons are based on strength plus a certain amount. So An orc using an axe would be strength +2. So we go back to the orc and we see his strength is a d8. So he's rolling a d8 +2 for his damage. Now, if he's using a ranged weapon, then we're using the amount of damage listed here. So if he's firing an AK-47, he's rolling 2d8 +1 for his damage. So rolling the character's damage to see how much effect it has. So we throw our 2d8, we get 6, and it was the AK-47, so it was +1. So we've got 7. So let's say we were shooting the orc. Well, his toughness is 8. So we have rolled under his toughness, because if we look up here at damage section, after hitting, your damage is compared to the opponent's toughness, 2 plus half his vigor. If the damage roll is less than the target's toughness, the victim is beaten up a bit, but there's no game effect. If the damage is equal to or higher than the victim's toughness, he's shaken. So 7 points of damage against a toughness of 8 has no effect. They have taken some damage, but it has no game effects at all. However, if they had scored higher, if we'd rolled much more than that, then the character would be shaken. So shaken characters are rattled from shock, distracted, or otherwise temporarily rendered ineffective. Characters become shaken by a test of will results, fear, and most commonly damage. Being shaken has several negative effects. First, shaken characters may only move half their pace and can perform no other actions, including running. If a shaken character is shaken again by a damaging attack, he suffers 1 wound instead. A shaken character automatically attempts to recover at the beginning of each action by making a spirit roll. A failure means he remains shaken, although may move half his pace as outlined above. With a success, the recovery check consumes the action of the character, but otherwise recovers and can remove his shaken counter. With a raise, the character recovers instantly and may act normally. So, when you've taken damage, you're shaken. And that means you can't do anything except move half your normal amount. When you reach your next action, you can try to recover. And if you succeed, then you have recovered, but that's taken your entire action. Or if you succeeded with a raise, then you may now act as normal. It's also worth bearing in mind the effects of raises on this, because any raises you got in your attack roll give you a +2 to your damage. And any raises you get in your damage roll lead to wounds. So if we flick on to the wound section, wildcards and wounds. Wildcards can take multiple wounds, and every raise on the damage roll inflicts a wound. The hero is automatically shaken when he suffers a wound and incurs a -1 penalty per wound to all further trait tests. A hero with 2 wounds, for example, suffers a -2 penalty on all trait tests. Heroes can take 3 wounds before they're in real danger of dying. In the test drive version of the rules, the hero is out of action and must make a vigor roll at -2 or die. In the full rules, the hero rolls on the knockout blow table instead. Finally, characters can also spend their bennies on soaking damage with a soak roll. So, if they've been hit and they've taken some wounds, or even if they've just been hit, they can spend one of their bennies and make a vigor roll. Now, if they succeed that, they don't get shaken from the wound, and they heal 1 wound level, or remove 1 wound level from that hit, rather. For every raise they get, they remove another wound. However, if there's any wounds left in the attack, they still remain shaken. Now, advancement's done through experience points. At the end of each game session, usually 4 to 6 hours of gaming, the Games Master awards 1 to 5 experience points to everyone in the group. The number of experience points a character has determines his rank, as shown below. So we've got a table here. So if they've got 1 to 19, they're novice, 20 to 39, seasoned, 40 to 59, they're veteran, 60 to 79, heroic, and 80 plus, they're legendary. Now, for every 5 points they've accumulated, they can level up. Just like in a video or computer game, it says. Every time they level, they can do one of the following. They can gain a new edge. They can increase 1 skill that is currently equal to or greater than its linked attribute. Increase 2 skills that are currently less than their linked attribute. Buy a new skill at D4. Increase 1 attribute by a die type. The attribute may not be increased again until the character reaches a new rank. So you can only increase a attribute by a maximum of 5 ranks throughout the entirety of play. By spending your 5 points when you're a novice, then you can't spend it again until you become seasoned. But that's how it works. You gain your levels, which give you various advantages depending on what you choose. And you got ranks, which signify how powerful you are. And that's all based on the amount of experience you get through play. So that is the Savage Worlds role-playing game. Now, I can see why people like it. The bennies especially are quite interesting and flexible. A bit more so than Force Points or Ghost Points in the West End Games, Star Wars and Ghostbusters role-playing games. But it comes across as pretty similar to Inspiration in D&D, where you'll have these points and you can spend them. However, the fact that you get 3 every session allows you to do heroic acts throughout. The wild die, where players can apply it to get advantage, so they're never rolling too badly compared to bog standard NPCs, again, is quite interesting, but I don't see why you would choose this system over the built-in rules of Star Wars, Shadowrun, Rifts. For all of my problems with the Star Wars D6 rules, where the Force gets totally out of control, with Rifts, where a number of the classes are way too powerful, I don't see Savage Worlds as improving upon that. They lose a lot of the flavour of the system. It's a fun, easy system, and I can see why, if you are swapping between lots of games, keeping a consistent rule system works. But, like the fact that in the early 2000s everything came out as D20 and it wasn't really suited to everything, that's my kind of opinion of Savage Worlds. It's really suited to the Western style of Deadlands. You know, using playing cards, lots of luck involved in it, but I really don't see it as being that suited to a number of other games. But that's just my opinion. Please comment down below and let me know if you use the Savage Worlds system. Let me know its advantages, what you've seen of it. But I think I've gone on for quite long enough at the moment. So please like, subscribe and comment down below, as I said before, because it does me massive favours with the YouTube algorithm. But as always, most of all, you look after yourselves, and I'll catch you later. Bye now.